Okay, match number 4 here. We've opened a pretty good opener. Hopefully this is a matchup where Force of Negation is good. No green mana yet, but we don't need it for Ardent play. Opponent fetches for a Temple Garden and plays Guide of Souls, so it looks like Bant energy, and unfortunately, well, we could have looked for Endurance, but I'm going to preserve my life total here. Not Endurance, Subtlety. I've got a bad habit of not cycling, but I don't like paying life against this deck if I don't have to. They're quite good at dealing damage in little chip shots. And I found that once you get to about 10 life, then all they need is one decent turn and they can kill you. Ocelot Pride is less threatening than Guide of Souls, so if I was going to search for a subtlety for one of them, it would have been Guide of Souls. Okay. I'm just going to play Otawara and pass. We've got 4 looks at a land before next turn. Well, including our next draw step. And it's not obvious to our opponent yet what we're doing. They may not leave mana up. Oh, okay, we got Bant energy? Okay. Need a land. I'm going to take Curator because worst case scenario we can dig with it. And we draw Subtlety anyway. Alright. A land would be pretty swell. That's not even close. Land here would be great, and if it's the absolute farthest thing from a land, you know what? I'm going to discard Titan Rex. And I'll Subtlety any creature now. Okay, he's just not representing red mana at all, so this is an energy deck that doesn't have Flage. He's potentially leaning more into, like, counterspells, maybe? They haven't released the blue-white or the green-white Titan yet, and the blue-green Titan is banned as heck. Okay, this is a Cosmic Rebirth deck. It's just a 3-mana Animate Dead. Okay, Malevolent Rumble puts Oculus into the graveyard, so even if I live in, we're going to bring that Oculus back. I should have forced that. I'm so confused by what he's doing that I didn't force the negation on it. Yeah, always force Malevolent Rumble. That card's great. Usually once they put the energy on it, they're out of stuff to do. Go to 8. Big pump, I mean, not forcing the Malevolent Rumble. That's quite a lot of tokens. Land. Never a doubt. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of his graveyard. We're also just hoping he doesn't have Orange Chant. I'm going to get rid of his graveyard. And then I'm also going, let's see. Okay, we have enough creatures. Get rid of his graveyard so we don't have to deal with that Oculus. The Oculus can run away with the game if you get even just kind of a medium living end and you give them an Oculus. Okay. I could have done this all at instant speed, but I mean, I'm either going to do it this turn or I'm not. And if we can just get to his turn, we're protected from everything. All right. Tuck his graveyard again. All right, we win. So loose play by me, but we had enough tools to deal with it. I've been bringing this Beseiju in against almost everything recently. I'm going to take out Commandeer. I don't think there's anything good we can Commandeer. Since I'm putting a land in, I'm going to take out a Street Wraith. And for some reason, maybe PTSD from the last match, I just feel like that we're going to want these Foundation Breakers. I'm going to remove one Endurance and a Failure of Denial. Because he's not red, I don't think he's going to have must counter spells after we cast a Living End. Like against the red decks, sometimes you must counter the Flage. Because your life total will be low enough that they can just chip you down. Okay, hand's great, sort of. Actually, it's not that great. I'm going to keep, though. We do get 2 shots at Surveilling. Although maybe I should make sure I have double white. I don't mean to hate on any energy players out there if you're an energy deck enjoyer, but I mean, they pretty much printed this entire deck in Modern Horizons 3. I think they should have made another Kaladesh. Is that what it was called? They should have made another actual standard set with the energy cards. Because I thought the energy cards were a good mechanic in standard. And there's only 2 sets of them. If they went to a 2 or 3 set block out of energy cards, they could have introduced the energy cards a little bit more naturally. These just, I mean, this almost feels like a precon, an MH3 precon. I don't know, does that bother anybody else? I mean, MH3 box constructed sounds fun. It would probably look like this. Oh, we can't do anything about that. We can't Endurance later. So I'm not super worried. And if he goes for that Reanimate spell, we can tuck his graveyard. No creatures in the graveyard. Let's get Meticulous Archive. Well, I want some more gas. I can get another. I'm not necessarily going to need double white to win this game. I think you need to play around the cards that are in your hand. In a case like this, because this deck can kill you pretty fast. In slower matchups where you're not necessarily just going to die to attackers, you can afford to be a little bit more conceptual and play around what might get drawn later in the game. But in a format, or sorry, in a matchup where your opponent is actively putting a lot of pressure in play and dealing you down to 0 life, I think you have to be a little bit more granular. Ooh, I like this card. I want to play it. All right. When she enters, draw 2, discard 2. And then when she attacks, if you have threshold, you get the 8/8. Let's see what we can get. We still have other ways we can get that white source out of our deck. I want monsters in my graveyard, so. Okay, we're going to let him draw 2, discard 2. Then how's our graveyard looking? We have a Street Wraith, and that's it. Hopefully he doesn't discard any creatures here. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if we're going to Endurance, I suppose. Still representing Orim's Chant. If you stay tuned to this channel, you might be seeing Cure the Rising Tide in the future. Come into a 1/4 near you. Okay. Alright, even better. Alright, now he's tapped out, so the only thing he could disrupt us with is Surgical Extraction, but all that would do is get rid of a creature. So let's hope we draw a Street Wraith here, I guess. Street Wraith would be our best draw. Not quite a Street Wraith. So we're going to exile his graveyard. Not exile it, I always say that. Make it go away. Onto the bottom of his deck. And then Shardless Agent. Trigger Cascade. Cast the Living End. Get rid of his graveyard again. I'm not sure Bant Energy is the way you want to go unless you have an infinite combo. He might have a combo in here somewhere that we just haven't seen yet. But I just think this is less powerful than red because red has direct damage. The creatures in this deck are usually good for about 8 to 12 damage, and then your Flages and your Lightning Bolts can get the rest of it. Your Johnny, too. Johnny's so good. Alright, we're going to attack with everybody. We're protected from a lot here. Is this Endurance? Yeah, it's Endurance. Okay. I mean, if I bounce that to his hand, is that even good? I don't care if he exiles my graveyard. All this would do is just be a flash blocker for... I'm going to let it resolve. I don't mind if he puts those cards back into my deck. But then I'm going to bounce it with Otawara. No, I'm going to bounce it with Sink into Stupor because Otawara can't be countered. So I get the damage in. I don't really see myself needing to resolve another Living End to win this game. So now if he wants to block, it's just a pure chumping situation. He doesn't. Does not have the City's Blessing. He's not even very close. He could attack to make the token. And gain the life. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. He doesn't have enough energy for that. Even if he did, I don't know if I agree with that. Now let's just look for some gas to draw. I'm going to get the Hedge Maze. I don't care about temporary lockdown anymore. I'll put that on top. I'm going to leave this back, actually, so that he can't make a 3/3 and attack with no consequences. Although I do have the Curator. But this deck has a fair amount of removal if he's playing the new version of Chain to the Rocks. He could have Energy Wrath here. Yeah, there's the Endurance we knew about. That's another reason to leave creatures back. I'm not sure how good the Bant version is at chip damage. Phalange Archaeologist. What is that card doing here? Okay, he put Oculus into his graveyard. And he does have Reanimates in his deck. So he's actually winning the graveyard battle right now. That's a 1/4. It can't block my 4/4 very well. It's almost at the City's Blessing. Alright, that was a good draw. Now I just attack with this because the damage race isn't favoring us except in the air. So now anything he wants to attack with is a major commitment. Hopefully he puts a creature on the stack here. Although Subtlety doesn't even attack well. He has the Endurance over there. He attacks with Endurance. Okay, he's going to make it a 5/6. Now we'll flash in the Subtlety to be an Ambush Viper. And whatever card is in his deck, we'll just deal with. Or in his hand, I mean. Yeah, we don't have lethal if we don't block. Because anything on the ground, this creature has lifelink. And we only have 7 in the air. So I'm going to double block here. I'm not sure which one I would kill if I were him. He wants the flyer, it looks like. Okay. And there's no damage removal in this deck. So he can't finish it off with the lightning bolt. He gets the Oculus. At the beginning of each opponent's inkeep. Okay, so we can't bounce that in time to totally deny him that trigger. However, he can't cast this unless there's 6 cards in his graveyard. Right now there's only 5. So I think what we do, well, he's gaining so much life. Man, this game is getting out of hand. Okay, here's something we could do. We could draw a land here. Bounce our own endurance, and then play endurance, get rid of his grave. Actually, does his graveyard matter? He has an Ocelot Pride in his graveyard. So we can use Otawara, bounce that. Sorry, bounce our endurance. Replay the endurance. Wait, no. To its owner's hand, yeah. So it doesn't have to be something that he controls. Okay. Alright, that's interesting. So if I attack with everything here, then it's very obvious that we have Living End. However, the Oculus can't die from blocking. It's too big. So if we attack with everybody, what's going to happen is he'll probably 4, 7, 10, 12. So that's not even a lethal attack. Yeah, okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play Otawara as a land. That leaves me with double green. I'm going to bounce the endurance at some point during his turn. The next turn I'm going to play endurance, get rid of his graveyard. Hopefully I'll have some more creatures in my graveyard from chump blocking. And then I'm going to Ardent play. Okay, puts an Aether Hub into his graveyard. I want to kill as many non-token creatures as I can, depending on how he attacks. Not attacking last turn wasn't sketchy at all, I don't think, because I didn't have any good attacks. That Oculus is a 5/5. Okay. Hopefully this is a huge creature. He'll flip it up and kill. 4. It's a 4/4. Okay. Yeah. That card dying's pretty good for us. Hopefully this... Okay, that was just a breeding pool. Nice. No, sync only targets things that we don't control. Darn it. Okay, well. That's a play that only works in paper. So, I goofed. You know, I clicked on Otawara because I wasn't sure if that one could bounce things that we controlled, but it turns out I did the exact wrong thing there. Okay, that's a good consolation prize. I don't have any more Surveil lands to get. I'll get the breeding pool. Play it tapped. The only thing he gets back is endurance. Yeah, and I'm not going to chump attack here as much as I'd like more of my creatures to die somehow, because I think if I chump attack, he'll figure out what's going on. He'll block with Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls, and whatever this is. If this is a creature, he'll put 3 more creatures in his graveyard, and he doesn't have any swamps, so can't attack with Street Wraith. And unfortunately, we're pretty much all in on this working. So he gets to get rid of my graveyard. But we do have some big creatures now. He does have the city's blessing. And bouncing an endurance so it can't block is not a thing because it has flash. That that food token might actually be pretty relevant. So I remember to use that. So our last play would have been much better if we'd done this the other way. We'd save the other war and use Sink into Stupor as a land. He keeps the card on top. He doesn't have any attacks here. My creatures are too big. This game turned out pretty interesting. Alright, Force of Negation's a good draw there. Don't attack with Subtlety, attack with the rest. He's got no cards in hand, so I tried to screw this game up, but it looks like we're going to get away with it. That's a Chumpet block. Good. I'm just going to save both my spells here. No need to play another land. We can already cast everything except Titan Rex. Okay, we're just going to have to deal with this. See what he reveals. We're wasting time there. He didn't get anything. Okay. And there's never a point where we can bounce this endurance to get Subtlety through. Also, it looks like he didn't exile or tuck my graveyard within his own endurance, which I find strange. Okay. I'm going to cast this. This frees up all my creatures to attack. And we've got Force of Negation, if anything starts going sideways. Okay, there's a chump blocker. I think, are we going to need to bounce that to prevent it from attacking? Because he's definitely got enough cards. Discards 2 Oculuses. He didn't have a choice there. And then let's see if I just have lethal. I can't get lethal by bouncing endurance, but so if I attack with everything, he doesn't have this. Yeah, that's easily lethal.